I acknowledge my ancestors from the beginning of time, including my Dutch, French, Irish, English, Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Acadian ancestors. Now in Acadia, 100 years ago, being a storyteller was a pretty amazing thing. Storytellers would travel from town to town, and the moment anyone heard that a storyteller was visiting, they would all gather into someone's living room for an amazing evening of fanciful tales. I learned about Acadian storytelling traditions from this book, Acadian Legends, Folktales and Songs from Prince Edward Island. And I needed to do some of that research because I didn't grow up learning a whole lot about my Acadian ancestry, nor did my father, nor did his father. And that's today's storytelling tip. Learn about your heritage. In this book, I learned about an amazing storyteller named Delia Perry. Now, Delia was a mother to a whole brood of children, but unfortunately at age 50, she found herself widowed and without much of a way to make an income. But she had learned the gift of storytelling from both her mother and her brother. And so she took it upon herself to go out a couple of nights a week and tell amazing stories in her community. Now, this, of course, was before the age of television and certainly before the age of internet and cell phones. And storytelling was the most important way that people could share who they were, share their culture, share their truths. The stories that they told came from their own lives. They came from legends that were passed from person to person, but they also came from folk tales that originated from all over the world and were passed person to person as people traveled from country to country. This story is a folk tale that Delia told to a researcher at Laval University when she was 59 years old in the year 1958. Le Grand Divaneur. There was once an old man and an old woman. They lived in the countryside and they were very poor. They were too old to work and they feared they would starve. They asked for help, but people were not very charitable, though it was fair to say that many people were quite poor. One day the old man said to his wife, I fear we're going to die of hunger. We don't even have a month's worth of food left. I agree, said his wife. In a month's time, there'll be nothing left to eat, and there's no way of finding any more food. We have to find some way to survive. Well, the old man had an idea. Let's put an ad in the paper, he said. We'll tell people that we are good soothsayers, great soothsayers, that we can foresee anyone's future. Then people will treat us kindly. They'll feed us right. Rich people will come, famous people. They'll ask us about their future and they'll treat us well. Until, of course, they discover that we actually can't foresee anything, in which case they'll kill us. And then we'll die, and that'll be the end of it. But it's better than going hungry. True, said his wife. They'll discover we can't foresee anything, and that'll be the end of it. So it's decided, said the old man. And he put an ad in the newspaper saying that they were the two best soothsayers that had ever lived. 4 days passed. 5 days passed. When finally the old man and the old woman got a response to their ad, someone was asking for their skills as a soothsayer. But not just anyone, it was the king. The king himself had called for them. Well, they put on their finest clothes and they went off to meet the king. Is it true, he said when they were in front of him, is it true that you are good soothsayers, great soothsayers, that you can foresee anything in the whole world? Oh, yes, said the old man. Mm-hmm, said the old woman. Well, said the king, I'm going to put you in a great room for 3 days. Each day I will feed you a great meal. And at the end of 3 days, I will call everyone in the land together. I will place you high up on a platform, and I will ask you to give the answer to the question that I tell you now. My question is this: where is my daughter's ring? She lost it a few days ago, and no one can find it. Sounds great, said the old man. Mm-hmm, said the old woman. And they made themselves cozy in the big, beautiful room. The next day, the king sent one of his 3 servants to bring the old man and the old woman a meal. It was a great, big, beautiful meal, and the old man and woman ate until their bellies were full. The servants stayed with them, waiting. When they were done, the old man said, Well, that's the first one, meaning that's the first of only 3 meals they were going to eat before they died. But the servant looked nervous as he cleared the plates and scurried away. The servant went and talked to the other 2 of the king's servants, and he says, "We've been caught out." Because what the old man and the old woman didn't know was it was the 3 servants of the king who had stolen the daughter's ring. "I'm not going back," that first servant said. "We have been caught." That old man, he said, "That's the first one," and he meant me. "I'm not going back tomorrow. You better go," he said to the second servant, who nodded his head. So the next day at noon, the second servant came to the old man and the woman with another big, beautiful meal. And the old man and old woman ate until their bellies were full. And when they were done, the old man said, "Well, that's the second one." Meaning, of course, that was the second meal of 3 before they would be found out and killed. But the second servant, he left nervously, and he came back to the other 2 servants, and they stood together, and he said, it's true. They figured it out. He caught me out too." He said, "That's the second one. I'm not going back again." "Okay," said the third servant, "I'll go this time." And so on the third day, the third servant brought a big, beautiful meal. And the old man and the old woman ate to their heart's content. And at the end of the third meal, the old man said, "Well, that's the third one, the third and the final one." Well, that servant scurried away, and he said, "Absolutely, they've caught us out," he said to the other 2 servants. "What are we going to do?" Now the next day, the 3 servants came to the old man and old woman, and they said, "We know you found us out. We know that you know that we are the ones who stole the king's daughter's ring." "Yes," said the old man, not letting on a surprise. "And we want to know," said the servants, "what we can do to make sure that you never tell the king, because he'd have us killed, you know." "Well," said the old man, "all you need to do is bring me the king's daughter's ring." "Oh, we'll do that and more," said the 3 servants. "We will each of us give you $100. Well, that was a lot of money back then, so the old man and the old woman agreed, and they took the king's daughter's ring. Now the next morning, the old man and the old woman were paraded all about the kingdom. They were shown the stables and the gardens, and they were led up to a high platform in front of all the citizens of the land. And there the king called up to them, saying, "Now, great soothsayers, it is your time to answer my question. Where is my daughter's ring?" "Well," said the old man, "your daughter's ring happens to be inside of your fattest turkey." "Inside my fattest turkey?" "Yes," said the old man. "All you gotta do is look inside the turkey and you'll find it." "That's ridiculous," said the king. "Well, if you're too frightened to open up your fattest turkey." "Nonsense," said the king. And he called forth for his fattest turkey to be slaughtered. And on the inside, he found his daughter's ring, because you see, the old man that morning had hid the ring in a piece of bread and fed it to that fattest turkey. Well, the king was so happy that they cooked up that turkey for a great feast. And he showered riches down upon the old man and the old woman. And that, taken together with the $300 they made off the first 3 servants, meant that they lived a fine life in the countryside. And they lived to be as old as they wanted.
We are timeless. We are timeless.